Hello and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur TV. And what a lady we have in today. She is phenomenal for many reasons, and you may need your tissues at parts. But also, I talk to my little trail running tribe here as well, because there's a product here. I can say you may need this in your trail running vests. So are you paying attention? So without further ado, I would love to introduce Kimberly from Muscle Mechanics. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for coming in today and sharing your story with us. So, Muscle Mechanics, how did it start?
Wow, we'll have to go back in time. So we started in 2020, but the story started before then, very much in collaboration with my son, who was 2 at the time. So we're going back to 2017. We're what we call a standard family. Family is 3. So I just had my youngest, and he was about 3 months old, and I just started spotting things that weren't quite right with Jensen. He wasn't feeling himself. He wasn't going out playing on his bike. He didn't want to enjoy the world as much as he used to, and it made me question if everything was okay. So we had a bit of a meeting with the health visitor, and they didn't spot anything. They say it's unremarkable. So when they're ticking all the boxes. He seemed well. He was doing all right. And then obviously a couple of weeks later, we're sort of like in October time, so it's around Halloween. He went to nursery. His key worker spotted his eye was turning in slightly on the left side, and I was going to go check it. So naturally, try and get an appointment. No one was in a hurry. That's all I would say. They said, "Oh, we've got an appointment in 2 weeks," and I was miffed. I said, 2 weeks. This is urgent. I don't think he's well at all, but I can't tell you what it is. It just doesn't seem right. But that was all they could offer me. But with that and with what the key worker said at the nursery, I just scooped him up one day. We were going to go to school and drop my eldest off, which I did, and he just fell. He just fell on the floor. He had a Batman coat on, so that's how I remember it. And he didn't stop himself, and I thought there's something seriously wrong here with my son. So I carried him to the car, and I mentioned, because he was always fascinated with Dr. Ranj, CBBS.
Oh,
He
yes.
was watching his favorite program.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm going to go take you to the doctors." He goes, "Is it Dr. Ranj?" I said, "I don't think I can arrange Dr. Ranj, but I'm taking you to the hospital because this isn't right." And he just said, "Thank you." He just said, "Thank you." So I got him in his seat. His little baby brother's thrashing and bashing around. So my mum said, "Don't get stressed out. It'll be fine." But I said, "Don't tell me to calm down." I said, "No, I'm going to the hospital with or without your help." And she goes, "Don't go like that. Have a cup of tea or something." I went, "No, I'm going now." And so she goes, "Well, at least call 111. She had a bit of a point there. So I did.
Yeah.
And I just told them everything that was in my head, everything I'd noticed. And they just said, "Bring him in." And with that, took him to the local hospital. We went there. We were there all day. And my partner obviously went to work. He felt a sense of urgency because we were there, and I wouldn't normally call him unless it was absolutely necessary. So he just down tools to join me, be by my side. And that's when, after 2 hours, we found out he had a brain tumor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your mum's intuition really did kick in, and that key worker as well for the nursery.
Yeah. So it's this sort of, what do we say, spidey senses. So with that, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, the consultants there, they were with him all day. They were trying to make it all very nice, playful, and exciting, about toy cars, giving him teddies and things like that. But they were all getting upset because they weren't expecting that. And the optometrists come in, and they were just really quite upset when they had to tell us. And we were just trying to think of ways how to comprehend what had been said, but also what was going to happen, because my baby Mason wasn't going to be that adapted to going straight to the hospital to have surgery and all of this, because Jensen needed it, he was still a little newborn. So my partner was trying to figure it all out. He was in shock.
Yeah.
I think we all were, but we had to go with it. So literally didn't have time to pack. Went blue light up to St George's. They did emergency surgery to remove pressure. He had a lot of fluid in his brain, and it was making him have very bad headaches, but it was debilitating, and he needed that ASAP. So they took him into the surgery. We had no idea if he was going to be okay, because it's surgery to the brain. It was like sign this paperwork, and like, wow, I've not seen all this paperwork before, and I'm reading it through, and it says risk to life, fatality, stroke, things like this. But ultimately you just want to save his life, because you've gone from not being aware to this is now life threatening. Go in there, they do this surgery, and immediately there's a couple of days where we're feeling, is that all we need to do? But we knew there was bigger surgery ahead.
Yeah.
They were literally just removing pressure from his brain.
How did Jensen at the time take this?
He's an incredible boy. He said, Mum, when he come round from the anaesthetic of having this pressure relieved, my headache's gone. Oh. And I thought, well, that's one thing, Jensen. That's really good. He goes, can I eat something now? And we're all sort of distraught, and he sat up in bed wanting to eat something and play with his cars.
That must have been a comfort, though, coming out of major surgery and, him wanting to eat and wanting the cars again.
Yes, I was like, all right, Jensen, we'll get that done. And he goes, yes, I could eat anything. And I said, right, what would you like? He goes, I have fish fingers and chips. And he was just eating in his mind rather than his tummy could take. So me and the nurses, we did have some, well, the other matters that happen when you have medications, certain anesthetics don't make you feel very well.
Yeah.
So in the night we have their constant on call trying to help him out, and he's like, I don't feel so good now, maybe I shouldn't eaten that. I said, it's not you, it's what you're going through. But he was incredible.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I said to them, can I take him home? I appreciate you want to keep him in before he has this big surgery, 6 hours. I need to get ready. I need to get the family ready. I need to tell them what's happening, because they don't know. And I need to do this. And I'm discharging him. And they were questioning me in terms of why I would do that, because it's so serious. I said, up until this point, nobody knew how serious it was. Yeah. So not being blasé, what's another 3 days going to do? We are going to take care of him. We wouldn't put him at risk. Give us the medications he needs. We'll do this at home till he's due in Tuesday, and we'll bring him first thing, we'll bring him in. And that's what we did. And I'm so glad we did, because as a family, we needed that time, because we hadn't even realized this was going on with his little brain. Yeah. And just seeing him, capturing him, recording him moving around, and he was standing on one leg. He was like the old Jensen again, and he was moving about really quickly. We thought, maybe this is all right, maybe it'll be fine. Yeah. We were just not aware of what laid ahead. So we cherished those moments. And it was when we went back in Tuesday, early as you like, I think 6 a.m., 5 a.m. drive into London. Everybody likes that drive. We get there, and he's pacing up and down in the corridor. He goes, what's going to happen to me? And we're trying to think, what can we do? We just play and just, distract him, do colouring in and things. And the surgeon come in, he had the plan, and he showed me what the tumour was like. It was the size of a golf ball. No. And he goes, this is what you stopped from being catastrophic. How did you know? How did you know? I said, I didn't. I just had a feeling he wasn't right. He goes, because if you'd left it 2 weeks, he probably wouldn't be here. Yeah. It's this close, and the seriousness in his face, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I love that man. He saved my boy's life. So the seriousness in his face, I paid attention, because there's no negotiating with that. That's how close it was. And then I just felt a huge wave of relief that he was our surgeon.
I was just about to say that, because there's people who you feel that they've got your son's best interests at heart. I mean, all surgeons do a real good job, but when you feel somebody's connected, that must have been a little bit of a comfort that he was in good hands.
And without getting too emotional, because, you know, he's still around today and he does incredible work. And when he said, I've got 20 years doing this neurosurgery, that's impressive. And then he held his hand out and it was still as a rock. It was still. I said,
calm as a cucumber.
You just knew he's going to be in safe hands. And he said, I'll do my best. I'll do my very best for you. And they took him down and that was it. So for that day, it was a whole day, 6 hours.
That must have felt, though, like those 6 hours felt like 2 or 3 days just waiting.
Yeah, we were wondering what to do, pass the time. Obviously we had Mason, so we were like trying to keep him entertained, keep everyone in the loop, get things ready for when he come round. We didn't have any clue what to expect. So, you know, and then when it was very late evening, he come in, he had his scrubs on, so the surgery went well. And he said, I shaved as much as I could because it was coming out with a brain stem, this tumour, as close as I could to the stem. That was where I dared not go any further. And we shook his hand and he says, well, we'll have to wait and see when he gets up what he's like. And that's the cruelty of the situation. We had him, and when he come round, he was talking, he's saying a few things, and we thought, we're through the worst of it now. This is it. We've got that thing. We've got it out. But then it took a really bad turn. 3 days post surgery, he lost everything. His body just shut down, and it's just a mighty shock. It's the last thing he said was he wanted to see his sister, and she wasn't there, and then he couldn't talk. So he was mute. So he was trying to communicate, he couldn't. So the body was just there. And I said, is this normal? When they were doing the ward round, I said, this to me isn't normal. Something badly wrong has happened here and I need some answers. And they were hurrying around. They had their clipboards. They were trying to figure it out. They had team meetings. They wanted to put him on morphine. They wanted to do this test, that test. And he was just laying there. I said, this isn't right. Something else has happened. And it's almost like mums have an extra sense, like they can hear things that they shouldn't necessarily hear. So maybe I shouldn't have heard this being said, but there was a nurse saying there was something about posterior fossa syndrome. She was, I don't think it's that though. And they were whispering, but I heard it. And as a parent, I latched onto that. What's that?
Yeah.
And then obviously I couldn't do much. We could just be at his bedside. I started to research it in the evenings, what it is. And it's a way that the brain, like out of 10 craniotomies, three of them will result in this situation where the brain just shuts down, communication from the back to the front. And then you've got to sort of rebuild. But no one really tells you what that is, rebuilding. You kind of think, oh, it's like Lego, isn't it? You just stack one brick on top of another. He'll be all right, be out in 2 weeks, then do a bit of rehab. No, this is ultimate starting from the beginning situation. And as much as I knew it's posterior fossa syndrome, I had no clue the magnitude of what that is.
No.
So before I went in with him to explore this as a situation, I had to almost separate myself from being a mum for a moment, because it's just horrendous. There's just too many shocks going on for my whole body to deal with. So I've just put my therapy hat on, and I remember that day very well. I just switched and went in and just behaved like I would with my clients and try to engage with Jensen, trying to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I realized that was my calling. Then my whole life was going to change, and that was going to be what I needed to be. I needed to not just be his mum, I needed to be his therapist. I needed to be the source of comfort and support, because he didn't even know what was going on.
No.
And he couldn't even talk to even tell you that. And that's when everything changed. I think that's the pure essence of muscle mechanics right there, because you're dealing with muscles. And from that day on, it was just really quite humbling how you rebuild somebody that can't move, can't talk, can't eat, his heart's beating, but it's not very strong. There's fights every day with medical interventions. Are they necessary? Does he need this? Does he need that? It's a complete change. And I'd never forget that day, because it's when your heart completely breaks as a mother.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it without getting emotional, but I will, because I'm a mum. You cope with it because you have to, because your son needs you.
And you are his support.
Exactly.
And I can say, hand on heart, what a fantastic, it's not a job, but it's a role. And what a fantastic role you are doing.
Thank
So
you very
you can be
much.
proud of yourself, and
Ooh.
you can pat yourself on the back. As one mum who's had her own son go through meningitis, I sort of a little bit understand that you're the mum there, and you instinctively know that things that should be being put in place, things that should happen. And sometimes it's a bit of a fight, isn't it? It's a bit of a fight to get what you know your
Yes.
child needs.
And that's, I suppose, every mum's got it in them. They've got this mama bear instinct. When they get annoyed, they like to tell people just straight what that feels like, and they don't hold back. So, yes, there were a lot of arguments, and I remember I was writing. Obviously, I did a lot of writing in my journal, just how angry I was.
You turned this writing, though, into another
Oh, yes, I did.
PowerPoint, didn't you? I am going to give this a plug. It is available on Amazon, by the way. Attention parents, don't think, use instinct. And it says how to trust, believe, and create your child's recovery journey. I said to you earlier, I wish this book had been about when my Eddie 30 years ago got meningitis. Thankfully, he's okay and well. But again, there was a lot of issues there behind the scenes, and I knew he needed things, and that battle was a battle for him to get to where he is today. So if you are one of these parents and you're going through struggles, this book is fantastic and it is a good support. So bear that in mind. But where is Jensen at now? Where is Jensen at now?
Where is Jensen generally? He's well, he's embodied my spirit of being relentless. He's not shy of work. He is extremely attentive and listens very well.
How old is he now?
He's 9 now.
9.
But with every step that he's created, like literally, he has had to go through many, many days of practicing it. So I think because I decided to become more of a therapy input at the beginning, he took to what I was saying to him as a comfort, because it was inspiring him, not pitying him.
Yeah.
He was a person that wanted his life back. He wasn't a person that was just going to let this thing take over him. There was no way. And, you know, there was a lot of patience required, a lot of new skills to learn, but I learned them. We both learned them. Me and my partner learned them because we had to. How do you have like a tube feed? You've never seen one of these things before, but you need to know how to aspirate. You need to know how to do things to make it safe, like to put the feed up so you had enough calories for the day. And yes, for several arguments, daily arguments really, with all different therapists. The neurosurgeon did say to me to be easy on them, not to give them such a hard time, and that some things you could go for. And he would sort of give me a little chat, said, well, I didn't actually do anything there. Maybe you could give this a go, as an impromptu sort of nudge in the right direction. I started to just think of him as my younger son. I just wean him, guide him, teach him to find his feet again. And with that, he found it fun. My youngest became his muse every day in the hospital, and it was provoking him to do things. And he enjoyed that a lot because it got him to move, it got him to talk. There was points where you think, I think I'll bring him in every day because he just has pure sunshine next to someone who's really serious and moody, which would be Jensen, as you would appreciate. But as time progressed, they really are a dynamic duo and they need each other. And that's cascaded through their lives now.
A bit like Batman and Robin then.
Yeah, very much like Batman and Robin. And still to this day, they are like that. They argue and they love each other with equal intensity. But they do inspire each other.
And Jensen, I believe, mainstream school.
Yeah, that was a fight I wasn't going to
Well
let go
done,
of.
you.
So there was, as you can imagine, being a family that's dealing with disability, but also ability. They needed to change their language in how they were talking about Jensen, like he wasn't in the room with me. I said, he's in the room with me at the school. I said, you speak to him, not me, because it's affecting his life. I'm just a guide. I'm here to assist him with where he needs to go. And they found that very strange.
Yeah.
I was sat there. Why would I do that? Because he's the one that's got to do all this. I'm not. And I think they learned from that and began to adapt certain situations so he could then come in, do what he needs to do, even if it's just being with other children his own age. He was very cheeky. He kind of liked that. He likes to go out and party if he can. He's got his friends. He went back to preschool where he left them. He was so happy when he saw them. But, there's sad points because he couldn't join them with how he was.
Yeah.
But he was happy because he could see them. I think socializing is such an important part of this journey, and to keep your foot in the door to have that social aspect.
But I would also say that he is an absolute blessing in mainstream school to other children. Because, other children can just have this thing where they think everything is just okay. And then to see Jensen, and they must see those little moments of struggle and think, if Jensen can do it, so can I.
Yes, they have now. They have embodied Jensen at his primary school now. So they're just blown away with his progress. They just see him year upon year, and he's removing equipment bit at a time. And now they're really sort of, wow, Jensen, look at you. You're looking good. That walking's coming on, and he'll go, thank you. And he'll go, good morning to all the teachers. And now it's trying to get some speed under control because he wants to go everywhere fast.
I can imagine.
And making up for lost time. So we have to slow down a bit. And he goes, I've got this. And then he'll fly around the corner with his stick. And you're like, okay, not nervous at all. Of course I am. Sometimes I'm petrified, diving into the swimming pool now without mum's intervention. Like, okay, toes over the edge, Jensen, I'm looking away. You're going to dive in. And the coach is going, everyone's going, and then he's diving in.
But he's not going.
He's having a whale of a time. He comes out and goes, I did it. I went, yeah. And everyone's just got their mouth open because of what he's managed to do.
Well, Jensen, if you are able to watch this, hello. I think you are absolutely inspiring. You keep being you, Jensen. You're fantastic. But I want to move on now to where this muscle rub comes from and what link that has.
Yes. So, we all like to say this word COVID, but there was this whole passage of time, COVID, in
yes, 2020. That time.
Yes, that time. Jensen wasn't done with his nemesis because he likes to be like a superhero. His nemesis came back, started growing again. So he had a scan in 2019 and it showed this tumor was growing, but it was growing at a rate that was causing concern for the surgeon. He wasn't very happy with that. And he looked very sort of serious in terms of, I don't want to operate on him again. It's too risky. We're going to need to do chemotherapy. And he referred him to Royal Marsden, where we met a really inspiring, what shall we say? She's a powerhouse consultant that took good care of Jensen. And my whole thought and feeling was, I'm frightened. This is going to be 18 months weekly chemo. What on earth is going to happen to him? And she would be quietly assuring me that this is going to be the best way to get on top of things. And in that sort of phase, I've done it twice now. I asked for a break before he started treatment because it's a long time. So I said to Paula, her name is, I said, could I take him away for a little family break? And then we'll bring him in. I promise I'll bring him in Wednesday to start treatment. She goes, yes. Okay. She just said, okay. And as usual, it's that silent pause we needed. Got our things, ducks in a row, everything in order. But I also had to think of him as a little person. And my previous experience working in oncology with other patients, what kind of things may come up.
Yeah.
So aches, pains, nausea, sickness, disorientation, just feeling rubbish, basically, in between having the chemo. So my mind was already sort of transported as to how I was going to help him.
Because you had like an aromatherapy background, is
That's
that right?
Yes. So that came creeping in the background whilst we were away on this family trip. So it wasn't really just a trip. It was me mapping out how I'm going to help him and be that support he needs. So I already had some blends in mind that I'd used previously. And so they came up and I thought I could do this. I could put that on if he needs it and let's see how it goes. And true to form, Jensen was just brave. He's a brilliant, courageous person. He goes in there day one. He has to have anesthetic because I want to scan him. He has so many scans. He's used to it. But it was when he had the chemo, it almost sort of sent him into a bit of sort of space. His eyes were double the size. He wasn't quite himself. And the thing he wanted to do the most, eat, he couldn't do that. So immediately I felt there was a calling to help him in between the sessions. So I negotiated at the Royal Marsden. I don't want to be able to drive my son here every week. We're driving an hour and 20 minutes to you, back again. And we've got a family life as well. Can we transfer his treatment to a local hospital? So by being direct like that and asking, you wouldn't know, but it was a possibility.
Yeah.
And it changed our life because she did make that happen. And I was very, very grateful for it. To the local hospital, which was like 10 miles away, we could do that every week. And I could monitor how he was behaving in between. And there's always so many things out there you could try when people are having treatment just to help. But I think my son just put it to me straight, because you make some great things. Why don't you make it for me?
Yeah, you do it, Mum.
You do it, Mum. I said, no pressure. I'm under a lot of pressure because I don't want anything to not work.
Yeah.
And so I had this blend, the pain relief one, the yellow one there in the pack. I already had it as an oil format. And my other clients said how good it was. But I never took any notice of what they said. I said, they're just saying to be nice. So I put it on his knees because they were aching, his elbows and neck. And he said, it is good. It's good. I guess you should do more of this. So to be honest, Jensen, we're not doing a great deal, are we? Because it's now lockdown, we're isolating. Maybe you've got a point. So I set about designing it, how it would be transportable. We got our creative hats on because nothing like homeschooling, is it? So you have to throw yourself into the dramatics of how do I make myself entertaining for all day for 3 children that clearly find you boring at times. So yes, that was me in the kitchen, throwing some fairy cakes together. I think my daughter wanted to make a banana bread. Didn't come out quite as planned, but they all had fairy cakes in the oven and it was pretty messy. Lots of sugar, icing sugar everywhere. He was covered in it. He was cracking some eggs for me. He was doing a good job, and you know, he's miscoordinating obviously because he's still recovering, but he did a good job getting in the bowl. And I was setting this as a balm because he told me, you need to think about jelly. And I said, what do you mean jelly, Jensen? He goes, think about jelly. You put it in the fridge. And immediately I turned around and went, it's got to change, hasn't it? It can't be like this. I'll put this in it, which was at the time some shea butter.
Shea butter to solidify it.
Yeah, it felt like a bit like Mary Poppins then. But yeah, I put a spoonful of this in, and then we'll set it in the fridge, like you said, and it did set, but it wasn't jelly, but it was balm, and it come out, and it was solid. I went, oh, this could work. And then obviously my partner come back from work. He goes, what have you done? I said, I've made something. He goes, oh, should I try it? I'm always aching. I said, all right then. Put some on, put it on his back. He goes, actually, it's not too bad, this. Seems to be doing the job. And Jensen he was in his assisted seat, said, I told you. And and that's how it sort of came about, really. I mean, when you got the boss Jensen telling you, I told you, you kind of got to do something about it. So that's what we did.
And I like the importance of the natural ingredients.
Yes.
Because I would imagine that poor Jensen's had a lot of other sort of chemicals and medications in, and they all have their purpose. But there's something nice about using natural products.
It's he likes the smell of it, and I thought I'm winning here, because as a mum, you don't want to make something they don't like.
No, that's really not good news, is it?
Because you're not the number one fan. I would hate to have not been his number one fan. So I said, well, that's good. You like the smell of it, and it works. You're saying it works. I have no reason to doubt you, but I would like to try this on others. So I was already a volunteer at a local football club at that point, and just to get out and about, because it's quite a pressure cooker dealing with this kind of therapy, but also family life
and COVID as well.
It's as like a person. The football team said, why don't you come and watch the match and, do a little bit here and there, work pitch side, see if the players need any stretching out. So I did, and I got talking to them, and they're all using this spray, and this magic spray they call it. They were using all different kinds of remedies, but they were still moaning. And I thought, why don't you try some of this? So I brought them along, and they were in little plastic ramekins then, because they were still prototypes. So try this, see how you get on. And a couple of players put it on their knees. They said, this is really good. And they were putting it on their sort of shins, on the backs of their legs, noticing how much of a difference it was making. And I said, well, these are people that don't know me saying it's good, so maybe I should cast my net wider. And it wasn't even me that did that, it was them. And they all talk, and you can't stop that once it's out. And they started buying it, and they said, we want to support you, because we know you're having a really tough time, and you haven't got your clients at the moment. You can't see anyone, you're in isolation. And, that's why I have a lot of time for them now. And they all chipped in to buy it, and they said, no, it's really good. And no matter what they said to me about that, I still didn't believe them. So they were telling other people. And then I got invited to a running club and a show to display it. And they say, well, maybe you should get more people to try it. And the running club said it was good. And I thought, well, let's make it a bit nicer. Let's tidy it up a bit, give it a name and things like that. So, yeah, muscle mechanic was what Jensen, and I think my partner said, you are a mechanic. You're always working with him every day, tweaking, retensioning him, getting his foot to work, getting this to work. I don't see any other name for it, really. So
I think Jensen's secretly the CEO of this company, really. I think Jensen's really the boss, by the sound of it.
Directed it, and that's why we've got it. We've got like the essential toolkit. He goes, but it is, isn't it? Because we all could do with it at times. And, as carers, it's a hard job. Lifting without assistive hoists with a home that's not adapted, especially for someone like Jensen that comes out of rehab. You have to do a lot of manual handling, lifting. Yeah. So we did have aches. We had muscle aches. We had pains. We had days we couldn't sleep. All our nights and days are upside down, including Jensen's. So that's why we have 4 blends in our collective, all made naturally. So they help in many different ways. But to explain it en masse, because now we're national, people now understand why I made them. So there's not just one does everything. You have to break it down. You have to look at that point in time, how you're feeling, what you need, and then choose the right balm for that purpose.
Well, you have done an amazing job. I mean, you've won awards. you have got so many different clients as well in the athletic and wellness community. Explain an award or two.
Wow. Yes. So full steam ahead with Team Jensen. That's what we call it now. I got nominated for Product of the Year award in 2023. We didn't really have much up and running because I had to research and make sure everything was working. So we didn't really start till 2021. But to get that and win, I wasn't expecting to win. I was gobsmacked when I went up. I was like, mouth open. We won, and everyone just stood up and sort of gave a cheer and a round of applause. And I called out some of the sports people in the room because they're all business orientated. So they run businesses. One was into rowing, one was running, one was a cyclist, and that's how it spread. It went into those industries rather quickly.
I was going to say, was you really ready for this catapult?
No, nothing prepares you for that. But the fact that that same year, my son Jensen won Pride of Bracknell Forest Young Person's Gold Award for his awareness, wanting to raise awareness of pediatric brain tumors, but also recovery, rehabilitation. Not one person or a charity had that focal point at that point in time, but he wanted me to record him. He wanted me to show the world, this is what I do. This is what I have to do. This is what I've achieved. And why can't you? It's that look he gives the camera. Well, I'm doing it. And why can't you do it? So up in the ante with the family. Okay, so then I went in to do some training. I did a 5K. I thought that'd be all right. Let's get fit for the kids. 10K. Then it went up to a half marathon. And then I thought, no, he's going to want to do the London Marathon. He wants me to go in. And the medal mass just continued. I used to finish the race and find him wherever he was with his walker, with his dad, and then get the medal around him. And everyone goes, why do you do that every time? I said, because it's for him. I'm showing him, this is what you could do. And he's screaming. He goes, Mum, Mum. Well, I'm really slow, but I'm making sure I finish because I'm going to give him that medal. It's so funny.
Oh, bless. There's probably going to be more products in the pipeline. You're always developing, aren't you?
Yes, the brain never stops and Jensen never stops. So we're sort of trying to cultivate an educational concept to it. So it's kind of combining forces with something that's natural and holistic, but cultivating the new tech in the world, but just making this tangible for his age group, really. So young people as well as our senior clients that use the product. It's overwhelmingly sort of supportive, the community now we've built, and the fact that we get testimonials that say, this has been a game changer for me. This will now be a staple in my home. It's going to be a staple in your home. That's amazing. It still pinches you every moment. You've got to think, this came from a very humble space and an honest space to help somebody get better. So well, we sort of spanned very different fields. We've been to bodybuilding. We saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, lifetime sort of, wow, watching his films, seeing him in person. We've been sort of into the cycling show. We saw Bradley Wiggins. We've seen Laura Kenny and Jason. We met Chris Hoy. And then we went to athletics where we saw Colin Jackson. And it's
spiraled, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was just like, I'm right next to these people. I've been watching you on the TV when I was young.
So the thing is it's very well deserved, Kimberly. Very, very well deserved. And just finally to finish off, how do you balance your own well-being with being a mum and also running this business? It can't be easy.
Sometimes you think that's an epic fail. I'm also the mum of the month here. Sometimes I'm not at school on time. There are times where you have to balance and you have to prioritize. You learn to prioritize a lot better. So if Jensen is ill, we immediately down tools. That's like muscle mechanics can wait. He needs to go to hospital. And there were times over the last few years where that had to happen because things don't always work out. There are bumps in the road, and we have to be there. But the family have come together. They know what needs to happen. when we do that. So my oldest, my daughter, she's always on it. What do you want me to do? I'll get, Mason ready, because he's always disorganized, creative chaos, as you would from a young person. But they come together, and I couldn't ask for more from them. So that helps me manage as a mum.
It's like a team.
Yeah, you have to be a team. There's no winners. We're just collective. That's what we are.
You're doing an absolutely blinding job. So everyone, I just want to say, I'm sure you've watched this and you have found Kimberly to be an absolute inspiration. But you know what? How you can support is to support this lady. And, there's the book. And there are these wonderful balms. Okay, we are going to drop the links in the bio so that people can find you and also experience a wonderful product, because it's not just the experience, but you're getting a good product, folk. Kimberly, thank you so much. And Jensen, thank you too, because you are amazing, and I am sure you're taking over the company in a few years. I can see it coming.
Yes, it sets it in his destiny.
You take care of yourself, and thank you so much for coming in.
Been a pleasure. Thank you very much.